What is up, everyone? I totally forgot how I start this. Wait a minute. Oh man, let's try that again. What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. This is episode 120. I'm one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Hello, everybody.
And as you can see, we're starting out in all sorts of shenanigans. I don't know what happened. My brain just was like, no. I've been doing this a lot for so long. Even like last week when we recorded with a special guest, Andre, it was easy. It was just like boom, and then all of a sudden, like out of my brain, it just like flew away. I don't know why.
Wait,
But
do you
anyways,
have a concussion?
not at all. I hope not. But yes, we are back with another episode of the Gamecast, and I told you Tess would return. She is back. You can't see her right now, but she's there. I promise you. This is not AI. This is a person that's with us right now and podcasting and all that good stuff. But yeah, I want to, we want to come back and make sure we keep up the momentum that we have going on right now with dropping content on the YouTube page, also the podcast. I see a lot of people talking about the stuff that we talked about last week. So I was like, yeah, we should definitely do another one. And we are here. But before I jump into the topics and stuff, I wanted to give Tess a moment if she wanted to share anything about, recent occurrences and whatnot, or just to say hi.
Yeah, hey, everybody. Yeah, so life is hard, life. I fell down the stairs again, so I'm just not having a good time at
It's been
all.
rough.
It's been really rough. Um, I even have like a little cold on top of, you know, falling down the stairs and hitting my head.
It seems like the
This is
cold is like the mild part of that sentence.
It's definitely the mild part. You know me. I always tend to put an emphasis on the smaller parts of the bigger whole. This is legit the third time I've fallen in like a 6 month period. And I am not okay. I'm just not okay mentally. So yeah, like I did say on Twitter, I'm more than likely nursing a very mild concussion, seeing as I know what a very bad concussion is.
Yes, we have seen that.
So
So thank goodness
we
for
have
that.
seen that. But yeah. So anyway, I'm here in the dark.
Yes, Tess has returned. And so what we're going to do, so we don't hold Tess for too long, we're going to jump straight into the topics. One of them being, how do we feel about movies being rebooted as shows? The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I saw a recent trailer of The Burbs. So for the people who don't know what this is, it is a TV show starring Keke Palmer and Jack Whitehall. I believe Julia Duffy and Paula Pell, I believe that's how you say her name, is also a part of the show. And essentially, they are Keke and Jack's characters are, a new married couple. They relocated to Jack's old neighborhood where he grew up a long time ago. It's like a version of the suburbs. And a whole lot of stuff is happening. And outside looking in, because I know The Burbs, I've seen the original film. It reminds me of, well, let me actually explain The Burbs, the film first. So the film is 1989, starring Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern, Carrie Fisher, Corey Feldman. It's basically a guy who is on vacation in the suburbs. He sees his new neighbors move in, and they're really, really like odd. Think of like the Addams Family. And he swears that they're murdering people in their basement. And throughout the film, he keeps like trying to figure out what's happening over there. He sneaks into places and stuff like that, and he gets his neighbors involved, and they don't find anything. For the longest time, it seems like Tom's character just doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just paranoid. And of course, spoiler alert, you come to find out that those people are actually murdering people or have murdered people or whatever the case may be. But it's a dark comedy, so there's a lot of humor in the who done it shenanigans and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So the show is similar in that regard because Keke is like, oh, something fishy is going on with some of these neighbors. But the thing is, it feels a little different because it's almost seen as like she's the fish out of water, as opposed to like in the original film, Tom Hanks' character is like he belongs in the neighborhood. Not belong. That's a bad word, but like he's
Mhm.
he is similar to everybody else outside of the fact that he's on vacation. And it just has like, the guy who maybe they broke their leg, they can't go anywhere, so they're looking through a telescope at their neighbors and they're like, oh my God, it's a body, but it's really the person just taking out the trash. It's that kind of vibe. Whereas Kiki is almost like she's black in this, in this neighborhood with all white people, and
Mm-mm.
she doesn't belong and she's being a little too whatever the case may be, even though from her perspective people are acting weird and there could be potential murders, like people are disappearing and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so the vibes are a little different, even though the premise is kind of similar. And I was curious of what people thought about it, because a lot of people who are talking about it online don't know about the original film. It wasn't a huge success. Like it was a success. It wasn't a flop, but it wasn't really, really big. It became a cult classic over time,
Mm.
and that's what they're pulling from. The Burbs show is actually going to be on Peacock, I believe, when it drops later this year. And so, yeah, I'm just curious about how people feel about this. Now, granted, this isn't a new phenomenon, right? I was saying this off mic. We had the Twilight Zone was a show, then it became the Twilight Zone the movie, and then we had a new reboot Twilight Zone show, the Jordan Peele version or whatever the case may be. Uh, whatchamacallit, there was the X-Files that turned into an
Mhm.
X-Files film, and now Ryan Coogler is making his own X-Files, which I can't wait to watch. Um, so yeah, this is not a new thing. This is
Yeah.
this happens, but I kind of want to know what people feel about it because there's always this disconnect when they go really far back, right? When they go to
Yeah.
1989, a 1989 film, I remember the film, and I feel
Right.
like a lot of people in their 40s will remember the film. But if you are younger, this seems to be aimed at a younger crowd, would you remember the film? And then in that case, is it a nostalgia grab or is it something like, you know what, this premise is really good? What would it look like if we brought it into the 2025s and 26s? Like
Mm.
like and then in that case, do you even need nods to the original Burbs? Like, could you just make a new? Because the Burbs itself wasn't unique. Like I said, that the whole idea of someone with the broken leg looking through the microscope or the telescope or whatever, that's an old thing. There's a couple of vampire movies that are like that. There's a couple of, children, think Goonies, but not the Goonies.
Mhm.
House is like that, actually. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of that happening. And so it's
Yeah.
not unique. So I'm like, why? And then it's like, well, why not? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But I know, Tess, you were saying that there were some shows that should not have been made, shouldn't have been made based
Yeah.
off of films.
So, Cruel Intentions should not be a TV show.
Oh, facts.
Um, yeah,
Facts.
I don't need to watch it to know. And I'm going to say this because I didn't watch it intentionally. It just happened to come on because, my dog is a person, and when she's home by herself, she needs to watch her shows. And I
Got
don't
it.
want to hear anybody coming for her knowing that she's blind, that she can't watch TV because she's lying about being blind. She's not really blind. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Um, but she likes to watch her shows, and so I just have to put something on, and then hopefully it just doesn't turn off. So I believe that's how Cruel Intentions got on the television in the first place. And I
Okay.
may have fallen asleep to this because it was terrible anyway, but I didn't know what was on. I didn't know what was on at the TV. And I think
Mm.
that when I was like, I don't know what's on, let me just like pause this or something. And then it was like, ew, is this Cruel Intentions? What? Why is Cruel? Okay. And I had a whole lot of anger. I called my best friend. I said, "Hey, your favorite movie is a TV show because Cruel Intentions is his favorite movie, and he can recite the movie line for line for line." Okay,
Okay.
and he's like, "That shouldn't be a show." And I'm like, "Yeah, 100%. It shouldn't be a show. It's stupid." And I don't know what they were thinking. Obviously, again, trying to get this young crowd because it definitely is not geared towards us who would have watched that movie when we were teenagers. Us,
Right.
watched that movie when we were like preteens, for real, for real. Like,
Yeah.
um, it's definitely not geared towards us. It's geared towards teenagers now, and it really doesn't need to be. Like the movie Cruel Intentions movie is a great movie. And just leave it at that. Leave it at everybody who was in that movie acting as ridiculous as they were acting in that movie. Because let's not destroy dangerous liaisons. Okay? Let's let dangerous liaisons be the literature that it is, which is actually pretty decent. And Cruel Intentions was a great remake. There's even a
Yeah,
Korean remake of that in it, which is really good as well. But a drawn out television series, that I don't understand. If you want to make a movie about rich high schoolers, just do that.
yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, why pull from this? And granted, there's a little bit of buzz because you pulled a name, right? Like there's a name that
Yeah.
people recognize, and so that'll lend itself to whatever it is you're trying to make. I
Hmm.
understand you immediately get a step up in people's curiosity meter or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I feel like I used two metaphors there, but whatever, go with it. And but at the same time, it's like, why? Like, for instance, I didn't think they needed sequels. I didn't think we needed Cruel Intentions 2 and 3 or whatever, however many there are.
Those don't exist to me.
Right. So, those metaphorical or hypothetical sequels should not be there. You know what I mean? So, like, making a show of it. And then there's also, like, the beauty of that particular film is the fact that it's very finite. Like
Yeah,
things happen and the consequences of people's actions is nearly immediate. And so
exactly.
having it drawn out just I don't know. I don't see what the purpose would be outside of the fact that this is something that people will talk about, complain about, whatever the case may be, and you potentially can make seasons of it. I don't know. I don't think it did well. I didn't continue watching at all,
No.
so I don't know if it did well or not. I haven't heard anything else about it, so I'm sure it didn't do well. I'm not looking it up because
Yeah.
I don't care. But
Don't
my
care.
point though is that, like, yeah, it's the why, and I guess there's really no question or no, I don't know. You can't really, put a finger on why someone would make a show like this.
Yeah.
Um, and I think The Burbs could work. I do think it could
Hmm.
work depending on how they write it. Looking at the trailer, it seems very interesting and comical. I don't think it's going to be as dark as the film, though, and that could be a bit of a
Mm.
letdown. And then also how you feel about Kiki Palmer, like your mileage may vary there. If
Hmm.
you're not a big fan of hers, you're probably not going to like this. And if you are a big
Yeah.
fan of hers, then you will. And I say that as someone who watched her last film with SZA, which I thought it was okay. It was all right. I would not put it up there with the Fridays and the house parties and the whatever, you know.
Hmm.
But it was okay. So yeah, I could see it doing well, especially being a streaming show. But I'm also like, it depends. It really depends on how far they go, you know, and who they're marketing it towards. It might not matter that you've never seen the film. They might not have any nods. There might not be any cameos. It would be dope to see Tom Hanks just pop up randomly, but
Right.
I don't foresee that happening. That being said, because it's the Burbs and I'm a fan of that film, I will be checking it out. So I will have some thoughts on it later when it comes up. So definitely
Right.
come back here to hear what I have to say if you care. But I was just curious, definitely curious. In the comment section, if you have any examples of this and you liked, the a film being turned into a show or vice versa, let us know. Good conversation. Good
Yeah.
conversation. Another
Yeah.
topic we want to talk about was the worst TV show endings ever. Why did I bring this one up? Well, Stranger Things ended not too long ago, and it has people talking. I personally feel like Stranger Things ended the way it should have, based on what they were trying to do and based on what I thought would happen. I also understand how people build up in their minds what should happen, how a show should end, how a film should end, and if it doesn't end
Hmm.
that way, you know, there's problems. For me, so much is it good? Like if something doesn't end the way I think it should end, is it still good? Because then I won't care.
Right.
Like, such and such should have got with so and so, but you know what? I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this. It makes logical
Mhm.
sense. It works. They wrapped up all the loose ends. There's no plot holes or anything. The character that I wanted to die actually died. You know what I mean? Like there's some good in it. Even if
Mhm.
it doesn't wrap up in a nice bow the way I thought in my brain it should happen. Because if you think about it, if it ended the way you thought it would happen, then someone else would be upset. That's
Mhm.
kind of how this works. Which brings me to The Sopranos. I'm one of the few people who actually thought that that was a good ending for The Sopranos. I'm not gonna say what it is because that show is it's old enough that you should know at the very least Google. But if not, and you want to watch it, it's still on HBO Max, so you can check it out. It's a classic show, just like The Wire. But I'm one of the few people who thought that that was a good ending because the
Ambiguity?
yes,
Ambiguity?
that word that I
Is that
cannot
it?
say for some odd reason.
It's it. It's
Um,
okay.
that part of it I thought was well done, and I honestly think that there wasn't really much you could do that would end the show in a way that wouldn't bother people because the show was supposed to end earlier anyways. Like the whole extra season was kind of this weird pseudo like dreamlike elements. There's some because the main character gets shot and he's in a hospital, and there's things that's happening in his mind. He's questioning choices, questioning people, and there's this a war that was kicking off in certain areas, and so there's things that are happening. Things are moving very quickly, and ultimately, what you're supposed to get from it is that his fate is uncertain. His fate is uncertain because of all the mess that he's a part of. And
Mm,
so when the way it ends is like, oh, I can fit in what I think could happen here, and it all works. Any of the things that I think should happen could happen, and it would work for the ending
mm,
of the show. And I think that was a
mhm,
smart way to do it in a way that doesn't put a stamp on something um, that would lean people, left or right. However, when the last episode dropped, the creator, a director, writer, whatever, made sure to be out of town, like they're away from everybody, and they didn't look at
mm.
the comments anywhere because people were losing their minds, right? Similarly to what's happening with Stranger Things. So I wanted to talk about some of the worst TV show endings ever. The easiest ones are, I think, Lost, Game
Mhm,
of Thrones,
mhm.
and actually Lost and Game of Thrones are up there. I can't think of like a TV show that ends and when I mean TV show, I mean like a scripted type of show. I'm not talking about like something that's more episodic, like Martin. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about
Right.
like a TV show where like you had to watch every episode in order to kind of get what's going on. I think Lost and the Game of Thrones are up there. And what's
Yeah,
so
they're the
bad
top.
about those is that they didn't have to end the way that they ended. They really
Yeah,
didn't, which is
agreed.
yeah, it's rough.
It that law. Well, aside from Lost, Game of Thrones treated the audience like the audience was unintelligent, and to me that was it was disrespectful.
Right.
Like that's how I feel. I mean, somebody else might say that they don't think that way, but I'm sorry. Outside of just the production errors, just the fact that there's a coffee cup sitting in a frame shot, that there's a water bottle sitting behind a chair in a shot, like those types of things are laziness, and and that's disrespectful. So
right.
I felt that Game of Thrones ending was disrespectful because it made it, I felt as if they treated the audience as if we were not smart, as if we were unintelligent. Maybe we were unintelligent for continuing to watch after the sixth season, for crying out loud. Like we should have stopped watching it back then. And I did actually for a while. I stopped watching it, and then I ended up binging before the final season because I hadn't watched it for 3 years,
Yeah.
because I was over it. I didn't actually really. I mean, I've told you all. I've said this on the pod before. Lost was just a complete letdown. I don't necessarily want to say that it was. I mean, I think it was disrespectful in the sense that I remember one of my friends saying that the creators of Lost had said before that they wouldn't take the show in a specific direction, and then they did it. I don't
Yeah, they were
know.
saying it wasn't going to be
Yeah,
all a dream, that everything actually
right,
happened, and et cetera, et cetera.
right. And then it's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
This entire
yeah,
thing happened so that Christian Shepherd could lead you all to Jesus? I'm very confused. I'm-
yeah. The fact that the island was a weird purgatory,
right.
and it reminded me, which is ironic or weird. Weird is probably a better word. It reminded me of the show that we were watching on Netflix, the Alice in Borderland,
Uh-huh.
and what
Yep.
that was about. Whereas, but the difference with Alice in Borderland is that, and I'm not going to talk about season two. I have feelings about season two. Um, that I don't. That's a whole nother episode, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the the idea of like a purgatory state, like something happens, and it's really in real life, it's like minutes, but in
Mm-hmm.
their world, it's a long time, and it's
Yeah.
because whatever they're doing will decide their fate in a way. Like wherever they go will decide their fate,
Yeah.
their actions or whatever. And so it reminds me a little bit of that, but I think it's different because that was kind of, even though you didn't know that necessarily they were in a purgatory state, it
Mm-hmm.
was let on that like this is a everything that they're doing has consequences that affect them outside of this.
Yeah.
Whereas Loss was kind of like no, like the fact that you were saying like Ben, after all the mess that he does, everything that he
Yes.
pulls, it it turns into he's asked to help the other guy, the new protector or whatever,
Protector of the
to help
island.
him to keep the island or whatever. Like he's gonna be he's given this, and it's like there was no redemption arc for him. There was no. I guess he's very smart. I don't know. Like I don't know what actions led to what in terms of where they ended up, because they are all come back in like this purgatory type state where they realize that we were all dead this whole time, and we're all here. And I'm like, what was the Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, but what was the Lord of the Flies stuff going on? What was with the
Right.
polar bear, and what does this
Right.
have to do? And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, right? Like
Yeah.
Alice in Borderlands, your actions dictated if you lived or died in the real world. So if you died here, you
Uh-huh.
died there, and how you and it makes you look at how you treat people. Like will I get over on everybody to make sure that I live? Will I sacrifice myself? Make sacrifices and stuff like that.
Right.
It seems like Lost, and granted, I'm simplifying it a lot, folks, so don't
Mm-hmm.
get up in arms. But Lost felt like no matter what you did, you ended up in the same spot as everybody else,
Right.
or at least everybody that
Yeah.
could come back for the season ending. You know,
Let's
yeah,
be
yeah,
real here,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we had several characters on that show that just disappeared. Their
Right,
contracts ended, and then they're not in the final episode, which made absolutely no sense. So there is the disrespectful part, because it's like, I am not understanding this, guys. You have a character that apparently dies in season 3. His contract is up. Okay, you kill him off, but if they were like dead the whole time, why is he not in the final episode with everybody else? This makes
right.
absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
It was very disrespectful. Those
yeah.
are the top for me. I mean, there were others along life, but I will never get over the pain and the sorrow and the scarring. I have scarring, physical
Ah, ah.
scarring from the betrayal. Lost was really a betrayal for me. Game of Thrones, like, we saw it coming. I again, we already knew
Yeah,
it was going to be bad. From that, there was no way that anything was getting better after season 6. Okay, like, I was actually not on board after season 4 ended, but whatever. But my point is that by season 6, it was very clear that this was trash, that this was not going to be good. And it was just angering because, again, they treated us like we were stupid. But Lost was a betrayal. It it is very hard to go from how amazing Lost was season 1, and then, twist after twist, and it was like, oh wow, this is really keeping us on our toes here, to
right.
then go to that, and it was just like, I'm sorry. I love the man who plays Ben, but he would have been the first person I killed when I became leader of the island. So,
Yeah,
but for
facts.
real, there's what show that I was just thinking in my head. It literally just, oh, it's gone. It's gone. And this is what happens when you have concussions. Thoughts just go in and out, in and out. It's gone. I had it, and now it's gone. And it was recent. It's a recent show. Oh, Westworld.
Okay, okay.
Westworld was a letdown, but it wasn't the final season wasn't the letdown. It was a slope. It was the top of the pyramid and just slope
Mm,
just going down. You couldn't top season 1. That's the type of show where season 1 was just art. It was art. It's never going to get better than this. And it didn't. Mind you, I do think the best episode of of Westworld is in season 2. But season 1 overall was better than season 2. It's just that the best episode exists in season 2. But then it
got it.
just goes downhill. Season 3 was a betrayal. Season 3 was, what is this trash that you have given us? Why do you want us to consume this garbage? And season 4 did its best to bring that back. It did its best. And I know a lot of people were like, hey, yeah, because it got canceled. And Nolan and Joy, that's their baby. And we'll talk about Nolan and Joy again in a minute because we're going to another one of their shows. Perfect segue there. But that was their baby, and it got canceled. And so they weren't able to complete basically, I believe, their vision of what they started.
Right.
But season 3 was so bad, it has me questioning, were you going to be able to get it back? Because it was bad.
Yeah, and I want to make a disclaimer or clarification about like shows, because there's a lot of shows that, especially on streaming platforms, that get
Mm-hmm.
canceled before they're finished. So like we look at
Yeah.
those and be like, oh, the show finished horribly, but it wasn't that the show was written this way. It's just like it, for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, wasn't popular enough, or the ratings dipped a little too low, and it got canceled before we actually got an ending that would justify whatever. And
Right.
so I totally get that. But that's
Yeah.
not necessarily what we're looking at. We're looking at shows that actually were written to be done
Were written.
and didn't work. And also, this is outside of the idea of that maybe like a producer or a company that owned the show was like, we need to end this now. We were going to give you 3 seasons, but we're only going to give you 2. So you need to end it now. And then you having to stitch things together. For the
Arcane.
consumer aspect of it, yeah, for the consumer aspect of it, we aren't, not that we don't care, because we want people to work as well as they can, to be paid, fairly, to not have to go through burn and all that, crunch, sorry, and all that. But the final product is what we're looking at, and the product
Yeah.
isn't good, despite or in spite of those things. And so I want to be clear in that, like, these shows were finished, they were written this way, whatever the reasons why they were written this way, this is just what it is, and this is what we got, and we don't like it. It's essentially is what we're
Yeah.
saying. It's one of the reasons why I'm currently watching From, and I really really like that show. And I think that was it. Either 3rd or 4th season is coming up, and I'm like, ooh, I really want this to end well. And I think part of that comes from the fact that they're doing so well, but then also because your anticipation goes up. Like, oh, this is a really good story. And then like it ends on a cliffhanger that adds an extra twist. And it's like, ooh, this is gonna be really dope once they like, get it all together. But it's hard to not be cautious with these shows, because it's like, did you have this all together? Or were you like, hey, we don't know if we're going to get another season, so let's kind of have this
Mm-hmm.
end in a certain way that maybe the next season we'll wrap it up. And it's like, oh, we got green light for 2 seasons. Okay, we can extend this a little bit more. And before you know it, the story it's not coming together the way it should have, because you got a little bit more
Yeah.
time, a little less time than you thought. It's not like One Piece. I know I'm jumping genres here, but like with One Piece, because it's based on a manga, the creator is starting from beginning and end, and he's tying everything from the first season all the way to, well, actually, it's only 1 season now. I don't know why they did that, but all thousands of something episode is just 1 season now. Season 2 will be starting soon, but everything from that, everything goes together. So like we can see that this is coming towards an end, and even if we don't like the end, I feel like the creator knew what the end was going to be when they started. With these shows, I don't think they knew, or they had an inkling and it changed over time, or whatever case. I know with Game of Thrones, they didn't have an ending because the books aren't done.
They're
So
not done.
You know what I'm saying? And they'll probably never be done at this rate.
They're never going
Um,
to be done. And George apparently only told two people what the ending is, and for all we know, he told them different endings.
exactly. Right. You know what I mean? So like a little bit of leeway there in terms of writing, but at the same time, I feel like if they were if they were going to go the route that they chose, they could have done it a little bit better. You know, things can be
Hmm.
written a little bit better, and just yeah, you know, even if you don't have an ending, you know, you can you.
Yeah.
It's a
They
difficult
also
thing to
didn't have to
do.
give us an ending.
That too. That too. That it could have ended in a way that was a little bit more mysterious and whatnot.
Total
That would have still
cliffhanger. They
pissed
could have.
people off, but it wouldn't have been as bad. I don't think.
It would have made us all mad, and then we would have had been like, okay, well, maybe in 5 years they'll come back with the reboot. They'll come back with the. I mean, how many times has this happened with movies? Like they had options. There were options.
That's
They
true.
chose the option they chose, and they gave us the trash they gave us.
Well, they also, you know, they, you know, were trying to, they were going to be leaving anyways because they had a contract, I think, with Disney or something that they were trying to do. Like
Yeah.
they wanted to start something new. So this was like, hey, we need to get this over with anyway. And I don't know if that's because this ending could have been planned from the jump, like from before that happened. But it definitely lines up in a way that makes you go, I feel like this was rushed, and I feel like I know why it was rushed. But that's neither here
Yeah,
nor there.
exactly.
Um, and the last thing we wanted to talk about was the Fallout TV show because Tess recently was able to watch that. I watched it when it launched last year, and I like the show. I'm a big fan of the game
Mhm.
series, the game franchise, or whatever. And I think that the show did really well in how it tells a story based on the game because it does use like time points, certain people, but the protagonist is different. And with the Fallout games, the protagonist is always different. Everything that happens in
Mhm.
history stays the same, but like you wake up in another, vault and you go about your whatever your life is, whatever your journey is, and at the same time something is happening, miles away. That story is a totally different story. And so
Mhm.
this game lended itself to TV show because you could just make a new character and then just put them in the Fallout world. It worked pretty great. Also,
Yeah.
I like how half of the staff like knew about the game and the other half didn't. The reason I said that is because the people who knew about the game knew to put in certain Easter eggs, make sure that the dates were correct, make sure you pronounce this person's name the correct way, et cetera, et cetera. The people who didn't know about the game could be like, you know what, we need to make a good show first. Before we put in all
Mhm.
this nostalgia, before we put in these Easter eggs, good show with a beginning, middle, and end for this, at least for the season, because season two just
Mhm.
started, right? And so, and the culmination of all that makes a really good show.
Yeah.
When you have people who are like, I never seen the show, I'm sorry, I never played the game, never heard of the game or whatever. You have all sorts of problems that go into that. And then when you have people who are like, I love the game is amazing, and then they make a show and you get something that's really, really bad because they don't realize that certain video game elements don't translate well to,
Right. To
TV.
television.
It's like, ooh, this didn't work out the way I thought it would. Just sticking to the source material that freaking, you know what I mean? And so I think Fallout was a really good uh, compromise between those two competing sides of, creating or whatever the case may be. So yeah,
Agreed.
those are my thoughts. What were your thoughts about the Fallout show?
I've been enjoying it. I keep it on repeat play. Hermione seems to
Word.
enjoy it. Yeah, I come home and she's sleeping to it. So I don't know. Like I said, I think she's a violent streak in her, and she's really like really getting Walton Goggins like ghoul because but no, I've enjoyed it. I remember I think we've talked about this on a different cast before we ever knew the show was going to be a thing. We talked about Fallout because it's one of the games, Fallout 76. Right? I think
That's the
that's the
latest
one
one.
that yeah, that's the one that I have on Xbox, and I can't actually play it because I can't play first person games. So
Oh, you gotta switch
I
it. Switch it in your options. You can switch it to third person.
yeah, I'm gonna need to figure that. Well, I don't know. I haven't had access to my Xbox for like 4 years now, so I don't even have my TV
Well,
anymore. So,
that'll do it.
so
That'll do it.
anyway, my big TV, but the one I was trying to play Assassins on after my other concussion.
Yes, yes.
um, but So I played Fallout Shelter. I mentioned this the last time we talked about Fallout.
Yeah.
Um, Fallout Shelter was a lot of fun. I played that on my phone and my tablet, and when I had one, and I played on my Xbox too. But I learned that a lot of games don't always translate across different medias. But
Right.
it's the best on. Obviously, you want a bigger it's best on like the iPad because um, that's like the bigger screen to play on without having to use a controller. So, I know all the vault stuff, and and I find the show to be very um, true to the sentiment of the game,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that a lot. Like, I feel like this is our second really, really good TV show that we got from a video game, with Last of Us being the other one.
Yeah.
Um, it's I find it to be really entertaining. I do. I'm just like I love watching Maximus get into his stupid scrapes because of his personality. I love how he's just so not like he wants to not be confrontational. He wants to fall into the background, but he just keeps getting put into all these situations. And he's like,
Right.
what does he say in that one episode? He's like, it just keeps coming to me. He's like,
Right.
I don't want death to happen. It just keeps happening to me. And I thought that was actually so peak Maximus, and that just made me laugh. So I'm enjoying the I'm enjoying the show. I really don't have like negative things to say. I think that there are small things that I've noticed that probably shouldn't be there.
Mm.
Like, I think that they're like just small production elements, and then some continuity things where I'm like, and I don't know if I'm missing something from not playing the video game as much as I could, because I really couldn't get anywhere in it because I'm just so bad at those types of games and they make me nauseated. So,
Mm.
so like I didn't get I mean, as far as I've gotten in Fallout was me when I first bought the game, which was I don't even know what year this was anymore, guys. I know it was when I lived at my old place. So it was a very long time ago. I feel like at least 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Was it 6 years ago?
Probably 5. I'm thinking.
Whatever. Because I bought it right after it came out, and um, I that's when I went on the rabbit hole to learn about what all the Fallout games were about because I was having so much fun playing Fallout Shelter. So,
Oh,
but
almost 8
anyway,
years ago. Good night.
yeah.
That's
Um,
wild.
I did say I was like it felt like a really long time ago,
Yeah.
but I've enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed watching it. Like I said, there's like little things that I think are really good lines that are delivered. They come across well. But then I'm like, wait a minute, you wouldn't have said that because that's not your life experience. But I think that anybody
Mm.
who doesn't play the video games wouldn't know that. If you're just a viewer, just a random viewer, you're not going to catch that. But I did catch, there's just small little things where somebody has said something and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Because
Mm.
you, like dwelling in a vault, wouldn't have said that because you have
Ah, I
no
see.
outside experience. And so I noted it was there actually, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a line where Chet says, "We're all cowards. We live in a vault," and I thought that was interesting because Chet has no other experience outside of a vault. I didn't.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is when they talk about man, it's been a minute since I watched the first season, but like there's a point where they talk about because they have that big celebration where they trade with another vault, and
Triennial trade.
yeah, and then they were like there's a point where they're like I don't know if it's the vault that they come towards because there's a third vault that they visit where they're like, hey, we got to send people up to get stuff because we're running out of things, and the volunteer rate is very low because it's very safe where they are.
hmm
And someone making a comment of like, nothing's going to change if we just stay down here type stuff.
hmm
Um, And so I don't know if it was along those lines, but I do understand it because each vault had their own. That's the big thing about these vaults is that they are all these world powers, or at least the powers that were in the United States, anyways,
Hmm.
were like, this is how I think this society should be ran
Right.
at a certain point. And so their vaults are basically big experiments. Um,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so
And 33 had no idea that
yeah,
they were in the experiment. Only 31 would have known because 31 is the managers. And it's interesting. I mean, obviously no one in that's why I thought it was weird because like no one in 33 has ever experienced anything outside of like they never well Chet wouldn't have because he's too
right.
young.
Yeah.
I think at one point there was there a famine at one point? I think I forgot because somebody said something about, oh, the something of 72, like some random year when they didn't have something. But again, Chet being as 25 years old or something, or however old he is, I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting that he said it in the manner in which he said it because I'm just like, I just don't. I
I
get
gotta
it.
check and
What's her face had
see.
already left. She had already
Yeah.
left, and she's not a coward. Clearly, but but also there, you know, yes. What is her name again? Lucy. Lucy's not a
Lucy.
coward. Lucy's ignorant. Lucy is naive, you know? And so her leaving the vault could is easily be seen as stupid as not it's not about cowardice. She's not a she's not a coward because she left the vault to go find her dad. It could also just be extremely dumb. No one's
Right.
ever been
It's
out
yeah.
there. No one knows what's out there. And so when he says what he says to Norman, when Norman calls him a coward for not trying to find out what's going on in 31, and he says, aren't we all cowards? That's why we live in a vault. And I felt like that line was supposed to be very powerful, but I was just like, I was like, Chet, do you think that? And
Potentially,
since when?
if he is, and granted, this was after the Raider attack,
Uh-huh.
and he hasn't liked certain things anyways with how they do things down there. Um,
Mm.
if he is looking at it from a historical standpoint and not his
Mm-hmm.
experience, I could kind of see him
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's
you know what I mean?
that's what I thought. I was like, okay, maybe, he reads books. From a historical standpoint, maybe that's what he feels. It it just felt like a really good line that they didn't want to
From the
waste.
wrong person. Yeah.
And the wrong word. It was like they're like, hey, we got to get this in here. It's got to be in. It's got and it's just but I do stupid stuff like that, and when I just notice like little things, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Like why nobody got hurt by the glass in the first episode, the breaking
Oh yeah,
glass.
yeah,
Not one person got a cut on themselves, and glass went flying everywhere. Every window in that house is broken. Not one person had a cut on them. And
yeah,
and that shows a lot of blood, so it's not as if like they can't show blood.
yeah. And that's the that's the TV magic of things and people
Yes, TV
surviving stuff they
magic
shouldn't survive, and
at
you
all.
know that I mean that's part of the going back to what we were talking about before with endings and stuff. People are like with
Yes.
Stranger Things, how come the certain people didn't die and all this other stuff, and it's like, well, that's not the way they want it to be. Um, that's I mean because then you have to sit with it, right? If it's not what you expect, is it
Yep.
such a bad thing though? Like, oh,
Right.
there's no way that this character can be, uh, you know, uh, knocked out of a tower and land on awnings and whatever, and like they only have like a broken rib, and it's like, okay, do I stop watching from here because I feel like that should not happen? But then there's like, oh, there's magic in this place. Well, that shouldn't happen either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of
Right.
decide where you want to be. But I do understand though the idea of like people saying things that they shouldn't. That was an issue with The Last of Us, the second season, and it's a little bit
Uh-huh.
more identifiable in the show than it is in the game because the game is very I don't want to say, if people haven't watched the second season, I don't want to spoil what happens, but there's something that happens in the
Spoil it.
game and in the show that a character does something that doesn't feel authentic to themselves, based on their previous experiences. And everybody makes mistakes, right? Is one of the things I was talking about in a previous cast, where like you can watch a show and someone could do something really, really dumb, and you could be like, that is a dumb thing. Why did you write that? And then you go out into the real world and people do that exact same thing and you don't question
Mm-hmm.
it. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, I guess, the idea that like you had to think to write that versus someone just being dumb in real life.
Uh-huh.
And so, how do you write dumb characters? How do you write dumb moments and all that good stuff, knowing the information that you know? Could be this one of those things where, like, you know what? We need to get this line out. He's a good candidate for it based on his disposition. Does it fully work? Maybe not. You know,
Mm.
maybe we can have like a flashback or something, because I'm pretty sure he's going to have more to say later on. It's like, huh, I don't know. So yeah, that definitely happens. There's stuff that I notice with a lot of shows in that sense, where I'm like, I don't know if this works the way you think it works. I'm gonna go with it because I'm enjoying it, and that, because that happens with me being a critic. Like my brain, like I have to
Yes.
tell myself to stop.
Yes.
Just
So you can
enjoy the
enjoy
thing.
it.
Yeah, because I'll be like
I understand that.
paragraphs in my head. I'm like, nah, because the way he was looking at Shorty, like I don't know if she really realizes that she was about to die and all this. Yeah, this it's not healthy. It's not healthy all the time.
What? It's unhealthy.
Good cast, good cast. Shout out to everybody that was rocking with us today. It's a little shorter than usual. Like I said, we're gonna go ahead and knock it out this time. If you've been watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, whatever it's called now, because it's not necessarily iTunes. If you're listening on Google's, whatever, all the different places, Deezer. I think we're on iHeart. I could be wrong there. I have to double check. But wherever we are, if you are listening, add us to your RSS feeds and subscribe and all that good stuff. Because like I said, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have the show is back. We're back, so to
We're
speak,
back.
and we're going to be doing a lot of shorts and a lot of different other things happening. So, and for the people who didn't understand, so I made a post on the YouTube page real quick about basically cleaning up the page, because I want people to see the Gamecast more than anything else. I was doing this already because initially the page was United Front Gaming, where we would have like videos of stuff, podcast, other types of podcasts. We had video game stuff, and we slowly moved out of that when we started doing the Gamecast and focusing mostly on the podcast. And so a lot of the content that I've been posting as of late has kind of been both like Gamecast and video game stuff. And I wanted to be like, you know what? I want this to be like higher. So I hid those. Those videos are still there, but I hid them. So as long as you have the links, you can watch them. But I hid them so that when the YouTube does this algorithm thing, it'll pick up these certain things first, and it'll push that to people so then they could come for the show. And the main things are, the Gamecast clips, our show, all of the Sims, because that's really great. And film reviews that I've been doing, film and television reviews that I've been doing. I made a new section for that as well. So all those things is encompassing of the Gamecast, if you will. Yeah, I think I said that right. So yeah, so that's why the YouTube looks a little different, but it's functioning better. I've seen you guys subscribing. Appreciate you, definitely appreciate you. People that are leaving comments, definitely appreciate you as well. If we talked about anything that seems interesting, or you want us to talk about something specific, definitely leave it in the comments below and I will check it out.
Yep. Well, that's it. That's it, everybody. We're back. And we'll see you in like a week or two or so. Okay. Thanks for hanging with us. Don't be a dick. Wash your hands, wash your faces, wash your butts. And that's it. Bye bye.